It's time for Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccr.com. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Todd's Electric, Jane's Pharmacy, Lamb Motors, Avera, Owyhee Federal Credit Union, and Edward Jones Financial. Coach's Corner is also brought to you by Graham Tire, Kruger Contracting, CHS River Plains, Gales Gas, Bank West, and Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota. From the KCCR studios in Pierre, KCCR award-winning sports director, John Winkler.
And a good evening as we welcome you inside the KCCR studios here on this Wednesday evening as we have Coach's Corner. We'll talk with coaches here in just a little while as we'll talk with head coach Steve Steele of the Owyhee Capitals. Also talk with Brandon Kusler of the Pierre boys basketball team and Joey Fisher of the Stanley County boys basketball team. That is on the way here for our show this evening. We'll talk with all three of those coaches. First, talking with Coach Steele next of the Owyhee Capitals. You're listening to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
At Shane's Pharmacy, your healthcare is important, and Shane wants to be the pharmacist to take care of you. Shane's Pharmacy will make sure your prescriptions are filled in a timely manner, they will answer your questions, and they will even deliver to your home or office. Call 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy, the pharmacy you know and trust. The number again is 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy in Fort Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
Helping people.
Have you ever wondered what the benefits are of becoming a Owyhee Federal Credit Union member? At Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we reinvest profits in you. We do this in the form of lower interest rates, higher dividends, and low to no fees. So come check us out or come in at 221 East Pleasant Drive in Pierre, because at Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we treat our members like they own the place because, well, they do.
Owyhee Federal Credit Union.
Look, it's no secret that owning a vehicle can cause a lot of stress, and they get a lot of wear and tear on them through every season. Graham Tire wants you to know that you can trust them with any problem that you have with your vehicle. They have fully trained ASE certified mechanics on staff, ready to handle it for you. From brakes and bearings to alignments and front ends. Let their experience work for you. Over 50 years combined means you can count on them. So if it's time for a transmission flush or even a simple oil change, the only name you need to know is Graham Tire, 421 West Sioux Avenue in Pierre.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, so y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer, so y'all can shoot if y'all please.
This is Coach's Corner on your home for the Pierre Governors, KCCR, and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Steve Steele of the Owyhee Capitals. And Coach, you had weekend off. What was the weekend like hockey-wise to try and get ready for then this weekend coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly that. It was off, like the kids kind of had an optional ice, but that was it. It was optional, and it was kind of, less organized, more just ice touch than anything else. And, it's one of those, it's the last one that we really get until the end. It's a pretty much a sprint to the finish now. So we wanted to make sure that we gave everyone the time to rest their legs, to heal up from the bumps and bruises, and prepare for this last run.
Well, you kind of get a slow step back into it all, too, because you get the one-game weekend this weekend. You have a two-game weekend with a day break next weekend or the following weekend. So it is kind of nice to work back into a three-game weekend by the time the season comes to an end.
And it is nice. At the same point, I mean, it's a one-game weekend, but it's kind of the one-game weekend, with Pink the Rink going on. It's going to still be a lot more of an emotional game, a higher energy game, just because of the atmosphere. So I think that, this being alone this weekend is a good thing because, again, there is a lot more build-up around it, and it won't necessarily feel like a one-game weekend.
Braden Valley is coming to town. Obviously, you guys shut them out the first time at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. So going in this matchup, what do you expect to be different from Braden Valley?
Yeah, I think they're definitely trying to shore up defensively. I think they've done a pretty good job of that against most of those teams that aren't the top ones. And so I think that's going to be a focal point for them. The big thing with them is they're just struggling on offense right now. So we've just got to make sure that we can keep puck possession, make it a really clean game, and I think we'll have a good opportunity to try and shut them down as well.
And you mentioned Pink the Rink. We talk about every year that the emotions and what that what a night and a day like that is for the hockey organization, for people that are dealing with cancer, because almost everybody knows somebody that's dealing with cancer, and how special that is for all the players, the coaches, the referees, the fans, everybody that's in attendance. It's a special night for all of them.
Yeah, it's a really cool event. Obviously, I think most of the teams around the state are doing this at some point. But when it's yours, it's just a little different. You've got your own people there that you're honoring. You've got your community members that you're honoring, and it just means a little bit more.
Overall, going up against Brandon Valley, again getting back into the swing of games, down the stretch. What are you looking forward to for this team to be able to continue to improve their game and get them that next step, getting ready for that state tournament?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we saw from our last weekend of games was just we've got to be able to move the puck faster. I think we've done a pretty good job of that for the most part, but you saw the difference when we played Brookings, when we played Rapid City. The puck's got to be able to get on and off our stick in a hurry. We've got to be able to shoot quicker, and not give them time for the goalie to adjust and sticks to get in the lane. So we've just got to kind of speed up our processing. That was a big focus of our practices the last couple of weeks. So we're hoping that shows up this weekend.
Well, so now we'll take a step away from hockey here real quick and talk some football, because obviously the weekend off, you got a chance to really focus on watching your Detroit Lions play. The outcome wasn't there that you would have liked to have happen. There's a lot of talk on social media about what Dan Campbell's decisions to go for it on fourth down instead of taking the field goals, and I think we're in agreement too that Dan Campbell did that all year. And why would you'd rather see them lose by him being the same coach in the NFC Championship game than see them lose by being too conservative and changing how he has played the game all year long.
Yeah, there's just a tremendous amount of respect, for me, I guess, for Campbell and not changing who he is, staying true to the identity that he's created there. That team's a team that's aggressive and plays to win at all times. And I think you saw, I think they were almost perfect, or they'd only missed one 4th and under 3, the whole season long. Their kickers, I think, like 45% or something from that deep. So, at that point, as a coach, from the coaching perspective, it's what do you trust more? Do you trust your offense that's converting these opportunities in 80-90%, or a coin flip field goal? Again, I just think it goes to the mentality, too, of just we're playing to win the game, and this is what's given us the best chance to do that.
And again, you kind of mentioned, too, that your hindsight's 20/20. You didn't get it, so you're like, I should kick the field goal. But if you kick the field goal and you miss it, everybody's going, why would you change it? Why are you changing who you are as a coach? And I think there's a lot of people that miss that other side of it, that are saying, well, Dan Campbell cost him the game. He coached themselves into a loss. But overall, again, things are reversed and the Lions still don't win. It's a completely different conversation of why did Dan Campbell change his philosophy in that championship game?
Yeah, and he said that, he alluded to that in his post game, and he was just like, I know there's going to be scrutiny around this, that comes with the job, but ultimately, unless you win, there's going to be something to nitpick about, and God forbid we catch the pass on 4th and 3, and then we go in and score a touchdown. Then everyone thinks of how genius he is for doing that and not putting a 48% field goal kicker out there to try and kick it. So as I said, it's all hindsight, and it's easy for everyone else to say. But the other part that a lot of people, they probably realize it, but you don't think about it, is, he has approximately 10 seconds to make this decision. This isn't something that you can sit and think about and really weigh the odds. You've kind of got to have your identity, because if you waver too long, you end up spending a timeout or doing something or taking a penalty, and then your choices are gone. So I was very, very proud, I guess, of the team as a whole, and how he coached the game just as a Lions fan. And still, we got to watch our team play in the end of January. That's something I've never experienced before. So that's, you don't want to necessarily be like, oh, it was a great season because of that. You're still disappointed you lost, but really just proud of how they played, and again, the grit that they showed all season long.
And that's the thing too, is 3 days after the loss now, when you start to look back on the season as a fan, and there's teams that might say one way or the other, but as a Lions fan, it is one that you can look back on years to come, regardless of how the next 5 seasons go. That was a blast to be a fan of the Lions over the course of the entire season.
Yeah, what's crazy right now is I don't have the whole top 10 order of the draft mapped out and where the Lions are going to get, because that's usually where I'm at this point in the year is, gosh, I hope this guy falls to us at some years 3, some years 9, some years, last year was, I think, middle, like 14 or something, and it was, gosh, I really hope they fall to us where, dang, we're going to be in the 20s. That's unheard of. So it was just fun to be able to enjoy and watch them compete and really just continue to be able to be a fan of something actually happening instead of always looking forward to the future. So it was a fun season to watch.
We won't ask the Super Bowl question quite yet because I get the final score prediction. You're the one that gets to avoid it this week and get ready for it next week, since we'll talk to you again next Wednesday. But overall, first initial thoughts of the Super Bowl matchup this year.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are just tough. They're a tough team when you get into the playoffs. They know how to win in the big moments. And that's kind of the Ravens' stigma right now, and the Bills' stigma right now on that side is, even though, this year it was the Ravens highly ranked, last year's Buffalo highly ranked, how do we get over the hump that is, Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the Chiefs? And so it's just hard to want to pick against them. In the 49ers side, they're so dynamic on offense. And I think that was what was most impressive about the Lions last week was the first half they completely got them out of rhythm, and then the second half completely flipped the script. But there's so many weapons there. It should be, I think it could really be a high-scoring Super Bowl as Super Bowls go. But I don't know. I think it's going to come down to which team can run the ball a little bit more. Because I think both quarterbacks at the end of the day will get it figured out and have good games. It's going to be which running game I think can lead the way, and if the team gets a lead, it's the 49ers deal. If they get a lead and can run the ball, the game's over.
Now, two-part question to this, too, because I'm not a fan of the Pro Bowl being the week between the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. I like them to play the following week. The other side of it is if you add one more week to the regular season, all of a sudden you get into the President's Day holiday, and the Super Bowl can actually, if it stays that same way, the Super Bowl can actually be the weekend of President's Day, and a lot of people can be off work on Monday. So you're kind of close to that. But I'm always one that just, you don't lose interest, but I feel like the teams can play better if they don't have the week off between the NFC, AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Do you agree with that, or also are you hoping that we get to an 18-game season where then the Super Bowl ends up being on President's Day weekend?
Honestly, I've never once watched the Pro Bowl.
Right.
So, I could honestly care less anything that happens with the Pro Bowl. I don't even think it's a game anymore. Is
it's flag football.
Yeah. Again, I've not once watched it. Not once probably will I watch it,
But do you think that the game doesn't lose luster, but the game is a little bit sloppier because they have that week off between the two?
I think that it takes them longer. I think the first quarter is a lot less exciting. I think that both teams would come out a lot quicker without that week off. Obviously once you get into the rhythm of the game and everything, they're still playing football. They've played 19 games to this point. They get it figured out. But there's no doubt that I think that week off does make the game start a little bit slower, and some teams obviously recover better than others and recover faster than others. And I'd imagine that a lot of the NFL locker rooms before the game is, hey, we have to start fast. We have to come out ready to go. I know it's been 2 weeks, and I think it's got to be just a long, draining, grinding 2 weeks because the anticipation for this moment. I think that wouldn't be a bad thing to move it to the week, just have it the next week. And literally just forget the Pro Bowl, select a Pro Bowl team, make it, which I guess they do the All-Pro or whatever, but do that and call it good. I don't know, give them all a vacation to go to Hawaii and have a reality show for a week or something. That's essentially what I'm guessing this is anyway.
Just make another challenge.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just, I don't know. I don't think that even most of the players really, truly would care about that. They'd probably rather be doing literally anything else. So, like I said, honestly, they'd all rather be playing the next week. That's really what it is. So, I don't know. I think that the bye week doesn't help. But I also think anything that gets us the day after the Super Bowl off is a win. So
that 18-game schedule, or maybe start. Well, you probably won't want to start the season a week later. But if you get that 18 games, you can then force yourself into that. So do you want an 18th game of the season, or is 17 too much already?
I don't know. I don't think 17. Shoot, they're getting paid millions of dollars and then play 18 games.
Right.
Obviously, that takes a toll on their body. But I'm honestly shocked that neither or any of the political people running right now haven't said I will make the day after Super Bowl Sunday a national holiday, because that would probably
They
be
could sway
more
a lot of
beneficial
votes.
than all the other stuff going on.
Well, now we're getting political here in Coach's Corner.
Hey, sports is getting that way, I guess, now.
Talking with Steve Steele here, the Hawaii Capitals. Again, we'll talk to him next week, and we'll get the Super Bowl prediction from him next week, Wednesday. But final question here to wrap things up: biggest reason for the Capitals to get a win? Going back to hockey here, biggest reason for the Capitals to get a win on Saturday.
Solid defensive play. I think if we really play good in our defensive zone, keep control of the puck, I think we'll be able to limit them enough where we shouldn't have to score a whole bunch, and hopefully we do anyways.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. It's good talking to you. Any candidate wants any information how to swing more votes, they can listen to this segment right here, and they'll be on their way to winning whatever election it might be. But we've also got figured out for football season too how the schedule is. So appreciate the time and appreciate the solving world problems one at a time too.
No problem. We'll talk to you soon, Roger.
That is Steve Steele, the Hawaii Capitals. We return more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
It takes hard work to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than just sports. It also goes for your financial goals. You work hard for your money. You deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. Your local Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If your investments aren't getting you closer to the win, visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Pier Area Edward Jones office for a financial review. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Capital City Ford Lincoln Toyota is serving the Central South Dakota community and beyond with a great selection of used vehicles. Local trades and program vehicles are available. New Toyotas and new Fords are arriving and selling before they even hit the lot. So don't wait. Stop in and find out what's coming. If you've been thinking about ordering a new Ford, stop in and sit down with one of our sales specialists today. Capital City Ford Lincoln Toyota at 518 East Sioux Avenue in Pierre. Call 605-224-7378 and visit CapitalCityFordToyota.com.
Building a home. It's the biggest investment most of us make in a lifetime. Not to mention, it's a decision that, well, you pretty much live with day and night. The quality of the workmanship stares back at you like a reflection. It also affects the value of your investment. Choosing the right contractor is critical. Kruger Contracting is that contractor. Call 222-2523. Quality workmanship and materials completed on time. Kruger Contracting. In a word, quality. Call 222-2523.
That's a clown question, bro.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Brandon Kusler. And Coach, a chance to take a couple days off. Obviously, you've had that stretch a couple weeks ago where you had 4 or 5 days off after a really busy stretch, but a chance to kind of reset after last weekend. So first, let's go back to last weekend, the 2 losses to Harrisburg and O'Gorman. What's the biggest takeaway from those 2 games?
I think you look at Friday and it was, I know I joked on the radio about not being able to put very many points up, even if we were alone in the gym. And it was just a game where there was not a lot that we could do well. And we by far played our worst game that night. And against the team that is as elite as Harrisburg is, it's gonna look pretty ugly. We are certainly not that far away from Harrisburg by any means, but the way that we played we just were off in all regards. But I think for the biggest takeaway for me from the weekend was the way that our boys responded and played in another tough team on Saturday. Not to the same level, I would say, as what Harrisburg is, but they're above us in seed points. Their record indicates that, they're a team that is going to continue to beat some top teams and be able to set themselves up for a good playoff run. But and then we were right there with them. So in a game where we kind of let them get away from us just a little bit, as far as O'Gorman is concerned, the way our guys battled back and had opportunities to cut it to a single possession, ultimately was 10 points or so at the end of the game. There was still a lot of promise coming from that game, and especially just the response and the fight that the boys had. It's not easy to respond after a game like it was on Friday. You're kind of feeling somewhat defeated in more ways than one, and they were really able to connect with one another and find a way to combat what we did on Friday and be able to find a new way. I know it didn't result in a win necessarily, but there's some baby steps and baby wins found within that game.
Well, and maybe a little bit of relief too, because you guys have done this a couple of times now of coming back from double-digit deficits. Obviously, didn't get all the way back, but we're almost back on Saturday. Now, you probably don't want to be in those situations again, but overall, that's probably a little bit of some relief that, if the first half doesn't go the way that you were hoping that it would, and you guys are down the scoreboard, it's not game over. Teams sometimes are trailing at halftime, can never come back and win a game. You guys are a team that you probably feel, regardless of the score, you have a shot at winning every game.
Certainly, and that's, again, just the fight that those boys have and that they compete with. And I think there's just a couple, fine-tuning a couple elements of our game, taking care of the basketball, valuing that basketball, recognizing the importance of every single possession. And I know we've talked before, just one possession, one turnover, one missed shot define a game? Absolutely not. But it can magnify a game, and it can, when you, especially when some of our turnovers began to compound, and well, it was, we traveled, had an opportunity to cut it to single possession. We traveled, then the next possession we turned the ball over, and rather than trying to create our opportunities and score on both of those, nobody tries to miss shots, but it's also, when we're open, we've got to be able to knock down some of those, and being able to catch shot ready and stuff is those small things that end up making a really big difference. But I think we would love to no longer be coming from behind all the time. While our boys have shown that they're ready to fight, they're always going to be in the fight. We certainly would love to be, playing with a lead at some point here. Although this outcome of a lot of those games has been positive for us, even when we are coming from behind. So, but I think as a coach, I would feel a lot better at just playing a little bit more with the lead. So, but all in all, a lot of really still positive things. We showed promise in our full court pressure as well. There are solid rotations out of that, and just things that you're going to need against the teams moving forward to be able to demonstrate. And the biggest thing is that fight.
Again, talking with Coach Brandon Kusler here on Coach's Corner, and you guys take on the Yankton Bucks on Friday. We'll have coverage at 6:30 and tip-off at 7 o'clock here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. One of the things, too, is that you get those 4 days, Sunday excluded, but Monday through Thursday to kind of get ready for Yankton, and only one game this weekend, being that Friday game. How nice is that, especially when you get to this point of the season, to kind of maybe you want to, I'm sure the kids want to play every other day, and they want to go right back to games, but having a chance to kind of to heal those bumps and bruises as you go along the season.
Very important for us just to have this little bit of early in the season, and I think it was probably after the winter game where I was just really jacked up to practice, and we still are, because there's plenty to still work on. Of course, we're certainly not satisfied where we're at and content and complacent, but more so now it's that the days where in between games where we can heal, we can rest, we can recover, and then we can get back to work with some stuff. But the last couple of weeks we went Tuesday, Friday, Saturday with games, and certainly not complaining about that, but it just ends up being taxing on their bodies, and especially at a point in the season where it's not our first games. We've already been having some wear and tear on the bodies as is. So good time to just be able to take a little bit of step away from the game for a couple of days, get the rest that they needed, be able to be. We took Monday off of practice this week just to be able to. They need that rest from having to be at practice, and reminding them that it's a get to. You get to come and compete. You get to be a governor. You get to do that. You don't have to do any of it. And sometimes when you're fatigued and you're tired you're exhausted in the moment, it's easy to lose sight of that. So just a little bit of an escape for them to be able to to just go be a normal student for a day and just go home after school. And I know a lot of them took naps and just got their bodies well rested, and then had a great practice on Tuesday, and being able to respond and get back in check with still 3 solid days of practice before our next game. And that's something that's really fortunate for us right now with the schedule that we have.
Yankton on Friday. Obviously, they're not the team from winning the state championship last year. A lot of guys graduated. I don't know if there's a Riken on the team, and there probably still is. There's probably still about 7 of them on the team. But overall, this team, they're in a different spot than what they were last year, a vastly different spot. But what have you seen from them on film?
Their record is not indicative of what they're capable of. That's for sure. They're a team that they don't have a ton of experience in years, but we're 15 games in at this, 14, 15 games in at this point. Everybody's got some experience, but overall, what they had graduated was years and years of experience built up in a lot of the Rikens and all of the other kids that were part of that state championship team. But when you look at their record and you look at their games and their kids, they're very capable. They've been in some games. They've lost a couple tough ones. They went to overtime with Jefferson, who Jefferson's then turned around and beat some other teams that you wouldn't necessarily, based on record, put Yankton and them that close. But that's just, they're capable of hanging around with teams. And their 2-10 record or whatever it is right now certainly is not show what they're truly capable of. So it's not a game that we can overlook by any means. We've got to be prepared for some talented basketball players to come in, and we certainly don't want to give them their stride heading into the latter half of the season here.
Yeah, especially, where you guys sit, and every single year, regardless of how good you are or not, that it feels like you can't start losing games, because all of a sudden you go from maybe being the 6th spot all the way down to 10, 11, and 12 if you start to lose a couple games. So every game obviously is always important in AA basketball and every single game of basketball in general. But how important is this one? An ESD game, a rivalry with Yankton. How important, even though, like you said, the record doesn't indicate how good they are, and their record is what it is, just how important is that game still? It's
extremely important. And when you look at the 6 games that we have remaining, all of them are important in their own way. But I think the message that we've been sending to the boys is we hold our own destiny here. Don't give it up to other teams to try and if so and so loses and then we get to do this. We hold our destiny. They've done the job thus far in putting them in a situation to be able to host a SODAC 16 game. Should we take care of business the way that we feel like we should compete? And it's that control element of things. Control your controllables. We can control us. We're going to do our best to try and control other teams. And again, just we control that destiny. And at the end of the day, our goal is to host the SODAC 16 game, get to that state tournament, and be able to do some stuff at the state tournament. But it doesn't take that you're not set up for success unless you're taking care of business every single night from here on out.
All right, before we wrap things up here, coming up not this Sunday but the following Sunday, it is Super Bowl. So the Chiefs and the 49ers. So this is one of my favorite things to do, is talk to all the coaches and get predictions. So you kind of have the short end of the stick of talking before the next week rolls around. So who's the winner? What's the score going to be?
I have to go 49ers. I just cannot stand the Chiefs. Sorry to any of you that are Chiefs
you're a Broncos
fans.
fan,
I am
right?
a Broncos fan, and for other reasons,
well, yeah.
I tell you what. But 49ers, and I think they're winning 30-21.
30-21. Okay, so and you're the first one, so that also means if anybody tries to guess 30-21 49ers, they got to try and figure out something else. So we'll see. I think paid it forward after Sean Lewis won the first year, but I don't know if I paid it forward since then. But we'll try and get something for the winner of Coach's Corner. So, hey, I appreciate the time. It's always fun talking to you. Looking forward to Friday's game against Yankton, and we'll talk to you in the pregame then.
Thank you.
Head coach Brandon Kusser, the Pierre basketball team, will return with more Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
No one likes to have electrical problems, but when they happen, call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. With over 30 years of experience, Todd's Electric can handle any type of electrical problem, whether it's residential, commercial, or agriculture. Their knowledgeable staff knows and understands the importance of your home, business, or ag facility and are prepared to help. That number again is 223-2518. Todd's Electric Service, serving the Pierre-Fort Pierre area. Todd's Electric Service, the line to power.
This fall, take some time to think about your future. While the leaves make their way down to earth and the last sunset of summer leaves us with an autumn chill, it's time to grab the nearest foam finger and break out the face paint. Rush the stands with First Dakota National Bank and forget how to blink. Fall sports are back with jaw-dropping plays, an electric atmosphere, and epic scores. Make some noise with First Dakota National Bank. Open a new account online today at firstdakotanationalbank.com. Member FDIC.
Most of us already know that Gales Gas of Pierre is the place to call for propane. They offer an automatic fill plan so you never have to worry about running out of propane. They accept debit and credit payments or a budget payment plan to spread out the cost throughout the year so you never have surprises when you get your bill. For delivery, convenience, and great customer service, call Gales Gas at 224-5518. That's Gales Gas at 224-5518.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now I'm playing for real.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. What play should I call now? Maybe corner three.
He's hot. He is hot. Keep feeding that guy.
Now back to Coach's Corner with KCCR award-winning sports director John Winkler.
As we welcome you to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Joey Fisher of the Stanley County Buffaloes, who played last night, picked up a win over Todd County. And Coach, it's good talking to you again. Back over 500 now, 8-7 on the season. Take us through last night and that win over Todd County. What'd you like about your team in that win?
You know, one thing we've really tried honing in on this year's defense. And I felt like last night was really kind of a turning point for us, just defensive-wise. That was one of the more complete games of defense that we'd played. We went in talking that Todd County is a lot better team than what their record shows. They beat Winter last week. They're well coached. They play hard, and they've lost some tight ones this year, but they could be 11-3 just as easy as they are 3-11. So we knew it was going to be kind of a grudge match, and I thought our defense in the first quarter, only giving up 6 points, really set the tone, and only giving up 15 at half was kind of really the difference maker and kind of got us going. And that led to some easy points for us. We didn't shoot the ball as well as we wanted to last night, but I would say defensively that was kind of a turning point for us last night.
And yeah, really, when you look at the scores that you guys put up, and obviously when we talked, you're a team that wants to score, wants to go up and down the floor, and not, you're not so much worried about how much the other team scores because you just want to outscore. You're not a team that is going to play a very half-court style game. But when you look at this score and the 52-46, the least amount of points you've given up in a win, and especially in a close game like that, obviously we gave up 42 to Potter County and won by 29. But overall, in a close game, defense was a big reason for a win, and like you mentioned too, it's got to give a lot of confidence to guys to be able to defend better and better as this year is going on.
Yeah, and the guys are really starting to buy in. We've always talked about how defense, you got to kind of have that mentality. You got to buy into that mentality that you're going to get a stop whenever you want. And there were some games where we've given up a lot of points, and we weren't satisfied with that because it's just not sustainable winning games 82-80 all year because we know we can score, and there's going to be games kind of like last night where we don't shoot the ball particularly well, and we still score 50, but you got to be able to hold teams under 52, and that was a really good game for the guys. I was happy with the defensive effort. It was good for them to be in kind of a low-scoring grudge match like that and just kind of get that feeling and be able to close out a game. Well,
and now you look at, and maybe you're not looking at the stadiums quite yet, but I like to watch it throughout this season. Obviously, in the first part of the season, everything changes. You go from 1st to 8th real quick, regardless of if you win or lose sometimes. But you guys are in that spot of maybe not hosting a playoff game, and all of a sudden you're in the 3rd spot, and you're trying to track down Mobridge Pollock for that 2 seed. These wins, regardless of the record of where these teams are at, these wins are adding up and can add up here at the end of the season.
Yep, for sure. Our goal is to host 1 or at least 2 region games. So we notice ourselves creeping up a little bit, but we just take it one day at a time, and that's kind of what we tell the guys is we can't control what's going to happen 1-2 weeks from now. We got to get better every day in practice and then translate that to the next game. So we've been taking it just day by day and game by game, and we know that these games are going to be important coming down the stretch. We want to be playing our best basketball in February and kind of starting to peak right now. And I feel like that's kind of the trajectory that we're at, but it's like we tell them, we can't be satisfied with where we're at. We got to finish this season strong and then kind of let the cards play out as they may. And like we've kind of talked about all year, is our region's wide open. I think 1 through 7 are really dangerous and could catch you on any given night.
Well, and now the other thing, too, is you look at the next 2 games. Chamberlain, we'll talk about them here in just a second, at 1-12, Bennett County at 3-6, and then Mobridge Pollock is on the February 13th, so basically 2 weeks from yesterday. They're 9-4. That's the kind of the big game. And you mentioned 1 game at a time. You can't overlook Chamberlain and Bennett County because they're going to be, Bennett County is going to play a lot of games at the end of the season, but here, these next 2 games must, and if you want to track down Mobridge Pollock and get to that top 2 spot, it's got to be wins against these teams that their records aren't where they would like it to be, but you still got to bring the A game day in and day out.
Exactly, and we tell our guys all the time, you can't base a team on their record. I think Chamberlain's a lot better than what their record shows. The Munger kid could be an all-state player. He's that good. He's played that much basketball for him. He's a 3-level scorer, and he's going to be a threat. He's going to be a tough matchup, and they've got some nice pieces around him. They've just dropped a couple close games, and they're kind of like Todd County. Their record is not as good as what their team is. So we know that it's going to be a tough place to play tomorrow, and we got to take that game before we even move on to the next one. But we're prepared to be in a battle, and that's kind of what we've been preaching to the guys all week.
Well, and you get that 1 day between games between Todd County and Chamberlain. So what's today look like practice-wise of getting guys ready to go for Chamberlain, whether it's more scouting, whether it's more a slower pace, I wouldn't say slower pace practice, but a little bit lighter practice. What's that look to make sure guys are ready to go for tomorrow?
We like doing just with being kind of a recovery day as well, we like to do a lot of rhythm stuff. So we'll get up a lot of shots, get them moving around, get some of that lactic acid, some of that soreness out. Just get them moving around. We'll touch on a little bit of Chamberlain stuff, just some scouting stuff, and then do some game-like situations just to kind of get them ready for tomorrow and prepare them, and then we'll let them out and be ready to go for tomorrow.
Again, talking with Coach Fisher here of the Staley County Buffaloes, and Coach, over the last couple of weeks here, you dropped the close one to Crow Creek, but you guys have won now 5 of the last 6 games. What's been a key to the 5 of 6 wins overall? What have you seen from this team that has really said, "Yep, this is kind of why we're seeing wins over the last 6 games"?
A lot of it comes from we've got really good leaders on this team, and we had a couple conversations with them. It's just what do we want to be remembered for this year? What do we want Buffalo basketball to be remembered as? And they agreed they really want to take that head on the defensive end. It's fun scoring points, but you look at those state tournament teams, they're going to win 44-40. There's going to be some low scoring games, so we knew that we could score, but these captains really, they kind of got that mentality going with the boys that we have to have a defensive mentality, and we want to be able to go out there and kind of set the tone right away. And I think over the last 6 games, I think we've done a really good job coming out and kind of making that first punch and setting the tone, and that's kind of translated to just really setting the standard for what Buffalo basketball is.
And again, this roster by grade-wise is a young roster, but the experience that these guys are continuing to get, a couple juniors, sophomores that are in that starting lineup. Obviously, Brock Zay being your senior for the squad. The amount of age isn't quite there for a team that the caliber that Stanley County has shown. But this has been this is a veteran group that has seen and been through a lot, and you can. It's a lot of fun to see these young guys be playing, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, and they played a lot of basketball, and it's kind of showing. I mean, last year we were super young, and it was a big leap for a lot of guys. And I feel like this year you're kind of starting. I mean, a lot of them have 30, 35 games underneath their belt now, and it's like that experience is paying a lot of dividends for them. I think there's a calming factor with it too. I mean, last year we got overwhelmed a lot just because we were young and not as strong as a lot of teams we played. And I think this year we've done a good job weathering the storm at times and kind of keeping that calmness. And it's really showing down the stretch here for us too.
Again, talking with Coach Fisher here of Stanley County. And Coach, before you start to wrap things up here, going in against Chamberlain, a big win, a big chance to continue to add to those seed point average and climb, and maybe not climb the standings above them, but continue to climb up the seed point average for the standings. Biggest key for the game against Chamberlain tomorrow for you guys to get a win and to move it to 9-7.
I think the biggest thing is we got to get off to a quick start with a team like Chamberlain. If you give them a little bit of momentum in the beginning, that's going to give them some confidence, and then that they can ride that the rest of the game. So I think really coming out and setting the tone early and kind of making that first punch is how we'd like to phrase it. And then defensively, in order to play the way we want to offensively, we got to get stops. So we always say our defense is going to lead to our offense. So I think if we set the tone kind of going with defensively too, it's going to open up a lot of easy buckets for us in transition, and that's going to be one of the biggest keys for us tomorrow.
Well, Coach, hey, I appreciate the time. It's always good talking to you. I think we got a couple more left before we wrap up the Coach's Corner season. So we'll be talking to you again soon. Good luck tomorrow night. Safe travels. Good luck tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
That is Joey Fisher of the Stanley County Buffaloes. We'll return with more Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
Score big on your next vehicle purchase with Lamb Motor Company in Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre. Check out their large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs at any one of their locations, or go online to lambmotor.com. That's LAMBMOTOR.com. Or give them a call today at 800-952-2222. Lamb Motor Company of Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre.
As community bankers, BankWest employees are deeply committed to supporting local causes, growing the local economy, and creating local opportunities. At a time when you can bank anywhere, we hope you choose BankWest. We'll be your financial partner for the long haul, helping you and your community achieve financial success. BankWest. Convenient, connected, committed. Member FDIC.
Hey you. Are you at a job that is fulfilling, has good benefits to support you or a family today, and retirement goes down the road? If you just said no, listen up. CHS River Plains is hiring operations personnel, drivers, and custom applicators at several locations. These come with a knockout affordable benefit package for you and the whole family. Apply to a job with CHS River Plains and up your benefits straight up. To apply, visit us online at chsriverplains.com or stop in at one of our locations. CHS is an equal opportunity employer.
Why am I so sore? There are everyday moments.
Hey, hold the ladder! Hold the ladder!
Yeah, that hurt. And there are epic moments.
Slide! College! Class of 1995!
When a moment creates a health need, visit the experts at Avera Orthopedics. We're moving health forward so you can tell the story. Learn more at avera.org/orthopedics.
Let me talk to you. You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
Yeah. And as we welcome you back inside the KCCR studios one more time here on this Wednesday evening, I want to thank our coaches and Coach Steve Steele, the Y Capitals, Coach Brandon Kuser of the Pierre boys basketball team, and Coach Joey Fisher of the Stanley County boys basketball team. We'll have another edition of Coaches Corner next week. We'll talk with coaches again as we get into the month of February. Looking forward to a fun-filled Coaches Corner. Last month of Coaches Corner will end the final Wednesday of the month coming up here in February. So just a couple more shows to go before we wrap up for the season, get into the spring and summer in our off season with plenty of baseball still here on KCCR. And fun to talk baseball, and we'll maybe get a chance to talk with head coach Steve Gray of the Pierre boys baseball or the Pierre baseball high school baseball team coming up here later on this month. But again, thanks to our coaches Steve Steele, the White Capitals, Brandon Kuser, the Pierre basketball team, and Joey Fisher of the Stanley County basketball team here on the show this week. Same time, same place next week, Wednesday, right here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Have a good rest of your evening.
You've been listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccr.com. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Todd's Electric, Shane's Pharmacy, Lamb Motors, Avera, Owyhee Federal Credit Union, Edward Jones Financial, Graham Tire, Kruger Contracting, CHS River Plains, Gales Gas, Bank West, and Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota. To hear the show again, head to YouTube at KCCR Sports for shows at any time. This has been a special presentation of Riverfront Broadcasting Sports, Central South Dakota's sports leader.